Welcome to a new edition of Rains on the Cardinals podcast. Rob Rains, Mike Rains, coming to you from our Homewood Suites here in Palm Beach Gardens, our headquarters hotel, where we've been for about a month now covering spring training. And Mike, as we tape this broadcast, we're 2 weeks away from opening day at Busch Stadium.
It is getting here before we know it, and we are excited for Cardinal baseball and excited to be back in St. Louis.
We're going to play a little game on this edition of the Rains on the Cardinals podcast. We do have a couple of people watching our little audience here, so if they want to weigh in on their answers to our questions, that's okay too. But mainly we can play along at home and see if you agree with our assessment as we sit here 2 weeks away from March 26th, 2 weeks away from first pitch at Busch Stadium, a little after 3:15, Cardinals and Rays. We assume it'll be Matthew Liberatore getting that start, although when I asked the manager the other day, he was not ready to commit to that, so said he'll announce it when he's ready. So we'll wait and see when that announcement comes, but all indications are it will be Matthew
I think
Liberatore.
it would have to be, based on how well he's performed so far this year.
And it's the leading returning starter, too,
Yes.
as well. All right, so here's our little game. It's going to be, you have to give me your assessment of this situation and answer the question. Concerned or not concerned? So I'm
Okay.
going to bring up a topic, and you tell me whether you're concerned or not concerned. And we're going to start with something that we talked about at dinner with our good friends Bruce and Glenda Wolf about the Cardinals so far in this spring training, and that's the team's offense. Concerned or not concerned?
At this point right now, I'm not concerned, and I think for a couple of reasons, right? One is, when we look at spring training, as we've seen before, you can look at standings and see this team has won a ton, and when the season starts, they look awful, and vice versa, right? So I think there are certain elements where individual performances I might be a little concerned, but right now as a whole, I'm not concerned yet.
And I think the other thing, two things I think is number one, I would say not concerned yet too, because it is spring training, because there is 2 weeks to go until opening day. And we all know that there's more important things that go on in spring training than just whatever the results are in the box score. And you can be, as we all know too, and this doesn't matter whether it's spring training or the regular season, you can go 0 for 4 in the box score, but have really 4 line drives to center field that just didn't happen to be hits, or you can go 4 for 4 and have hit a bunch of little nibblers that all became base hits. So the numbers themselves, are important, and they're a tool to analyze and to assess what's going on. But by the same token, it's also not the most important thing. I mean, the fact that Nolan Gorman's hitting 160 or whatever it is. Are we concerned?
The number to me that I get concerned with, or that you can look at from an offensive standpoint, is strikeouts. Because that tells me if they're seeing the ball well or judging the pitches that are coming out of the bat. And so when we talk about Nolan Gorman, I'm not concerned. And the reason I'm not concerned, he has 4 strikeouts all spring, which is unbelievable compared to his numbers last year. So is he providing the offense that we want to see? Not yet. But because the strikeout numbers are way down, that is what has me excited about Nolan Gorman this season.
Okay, so Jordan Walker then, concerned or not concerned? If you're using that same strategy, that same logic, well, he has more strikeouts than he has hits, 8-6, and not only that, all 6 of his hits have been singles.
He's the guy to me that I'm concerned with, and for a couple reasons. One, when you looked at his numbers last year, he had a 56% ground ball rate, which tells you that everything he's hitting is right into the ground. And for a guy who hits the ball 115 off the bat on a regular occurrence, that's what has me a little bit concerned. I'm hoping his ability to work with this driveline program in the offseason and kind of some of the Joshua Baez aspects, and you've got another angle that you're hoping helps him this year, but right now I'm concerned with Jordan Walker's offense, yes.
So overall, not concerned. Individually, maybe a little concerned. Mason Wynn's hitting 158, I think.
And Mason's a guy who we know is going to turn it around. So right now, I'm not concerned with Mason, but 156 clearly is not going to get it done for this team.
All right, next question. Concerned or not concerned, Ivan Herrera?
Well, I just don't know that we've seen him enough to really have an answer to that, right? So I think the next 2 weeks for him is going to be the test, and how much is he going to play?
He's missed the last several games because of inflammation in his knee. The Cardinals think that's just the normal progression of catching again. But again, he hasn't caught that much, and he's already having knee troubles. So, I think we've seen kind of the strategy that the Cardinals are willing to go. I think you already can predict that the roster will have 3 catchers, Herrera, Pages, and Joel Pozo. And I guess that gives you a little bit of the protection if Herrera can't catch and has to DH, because you're basically going with the same two catchers you used last year.
I will say, if Nootbaar's going to be out for some extended
Here's my
period of
next
time,
one.
and I know he's the next guy you're going to talk to, I'm just going to say real quickly that I would rather have the Pages bat in the lineup as opposed to, say, a Jose Fermin. Now, that's what Herrera DHing allows you to do, is get Pages in there. Now, when Nootbaar comes back, would you rather see Pages bat still in the lineup, or would you rather see Herrera back behind the plate?
The Cardinals, I don't know, because I just don't know what Herrera is going to do behind the plate, because you really haven't seen him enough there to tell. And I don't know if he's going to be able to catch enough in the final 2 weeks to also give you an answer to that question. He's going to catch some during the regular season. We know that for a fact. So how much he's going to catch will depend on performance once we get into the season. The Cardinals say they're not concerned about this inflammation. He's responded to treatment and rest, and they expect him to be back in there. I think the fact that they played Tuesday and Wednesday on the road impacted that decision to not have him in the lineup. The question is he going to be the DH or catching when he comes back? And that's what we'll see this weekend. I think will be maybe start to give us an answer on what they're thinking about Herrera.
Yeah, and he's a guy that they desperately need in this offense. So as we talk about, from a whole, if he's in this lineup, I'm not concerned. If he's not in this lineup, that's a different story, because as we all saw last year, this team desperately needs a right-handed hitting bat, and if he can be that guy, is very helpful in the balance of the lineup between the lefty and righty as well.
Okay, well, you mentioned Lars Nootbaar. Concerned or not concerned that we haven't seen any real progress on his recovery from the surgery on his heels at this point?
The biggest question to me is, if he's out just a couple weeks or a month to start the season, I'm not concerned. If it's going to be 2 or 3 months, then I'm concerned, because that makes a glaring hole in left field. So, it's obviously, we like the bat of Thomas Saggese, but is he as on par with Lars Nootbaar? No. So if that to me is the question mark, is how long is he going to be out? And I don't think anybody knows the answer to that.
I think you could probably predict it'll be at least a month, simply because he hasn't had any spring training at all, and he didn't, was hurt last year. So I think he's going to have to play for, at least a couple of 3 weeks of regular games, and I don't think he's close to being able to do that yet. So if I had to bet a milkshake on it, I would say they would be thrilled if he's back playing by June 1st.
So the question that comes down to then is, they talked last year at one point about Ivan Herrera in left field, and if he can't,
no talk of that.
If he can't catch, I understand there's no talk of that, but there's currently a right-handed hitting outfielder who plays left field who had a fantastic spring so far. Just got sent down to minor league camp, but at what point do you pull the trigger on Joshua Baez if Newt's going to be out a long time?
I think that probably depends on how the left field combination is working to start the season. And that was my next concern, concerned or not concerned about the candidates who will take Lars's place in left field.
Now, one of them being Thomas Saggese, who is currently not here. He's with Team Italy, so depending on when he comes back, it'll be interesting to see. But, Jose Fermin is a guy who's, done well when he's needed it, but he's not going to fill the hole of Lars Nootbaar, right? And so the combination is going to be interesting. Now, Saggese projects overall as the better offensive hitter, better OBP. So that to me is the key for this team, just getting guys on base and moving them around.
Concerned or not concerned about the decision to send Joshua Baez back to Memphis?
Well, there's a couple ways to look at that. One is, he's 22 years old and he's never played a full season at AA. He's never played a full season at AAA.
Hasn't played a game at AAA.
You're right, he hasn't played a game there. And he had only played a half a season at AA. So on that level, I'm not concerned, because he needs, it's the conversation of long-term versus short-term game. So do we want to see him here now because he's playing well? Yes, but is this the team that's going to compete for the postseason? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But, a couple years down the road, he's your everyday starting right fielder or left fielder for a very long time.
And do you want to start his clock this early is also a concern, the service time, all that kind of stuff. So
now, I'm sure service time will be a huge piece of the conversation that's going to happen at the end of this season, but that's to be determined as that plays out.
Yeah, I don't think we really have I think everybody was excited by the spring that Joshua Baez had. The Cardinals were excited about the spring that he had, and I think he's a guy that they're definitely counting on. I mean, obviously coming off that big year in 2025, but let's let him go to Memphis, see if he can perform well there for a couple months, see how the left field candidates work out here, see what Nootbaar's status is, and then go from there. But don't forget that if Newpark comes back healthy, I think there's a real good chance that at the trading deadline he's flipped for more prospects too. So,
and again, that kind of just determines on
opens up a spot
the current
right there.
record and how the other teams are playing and where the Cardinals are at that point in time. So all of that will play out as it goes. But the thing about Baez too is he's a guy that the Cardinals and the entire system look at and compare Jordan Walker to, because the hitting program that they put Baez on, when he first got in, he had struggled a little bit. They put him in there, and it's really turned out well. So they're hoping they can do a similar thing with Jordan Walker. And if that's the case, you got two really good guys to get there. But as we mentioned with Walker, he's got to get there to do it.
And don't forget, and I know we emphasize this a lot, but it's something that I have to keep telling myself at the same time, because you think about it, Jordan Walker's still 23 years old. He's a year older than Joshua Baez and has had, 2.5 years of major league experience already?
Correct. And so it'll be very interesting to see, again, this year though, you're going to see guys with a little bit longer leash, because there's a couple guys that they just need to kind of figure it out. Jordan Walker's one of those guys that they're going to give him plenty of time and everyday reps in right field to make that happen, and hopefully it clicks for him and goes. And if it doesn't, then I don't know when you make that switch.
We have one more position player to talk about here in our concerned or not concerned, and I already can safely, 100%, without a doubt, predict what your answer is going to be to this question, J.J. Weatherholt.
There's nothing not to like about J.J. Weatherholt at this point, right? I mean, he's done everything that you expect him to do, so obviously not concerned with him at this point. But what I like about him so far is his ability to take walks. He's watching every pitch. He's not afraid to take the walk to get on base, because that's important. And a lot of guys forget that aspect when they first come up, because they want to swing and they want to be the big hitter. And I'm impressed with how this game doesn't seem to be too big for him right now. I'm impressed with his poise that he's had so far.
Yeah, and I think the Cardinals are I think he would have had to really come into spring training and just have the whole bottom fall out for him not to be the starting second baseman. And that, the exact opposite has happened. He's taken the opportunity, run with it, and even though right at the start of the show we said spring training statistics don't matter a whole lot, I think the way he's played and the confidence that he's shown in that knowing where he is in the pecking order has really been impressive to me.
It really has been, for sure. And he's making a large case for probably at this point right now solidifying that number 2 hole in the lineup, which is setting up nicely between most likely Wynn and Herrera batting third, if I had to guess, so they keep the righty-lefty matchup with Burleson fourth. But it's setting up nicely for him at the top of the lineup.
Okay, this is a special edition, Reigns on the Cardinals podcast, here from our spring training headquarters, the Homewood Suites Hotel, Palm Beach Gardens. Mike Reigns, Rob Reigns. Don't forget, if you're watching this on Thursday and you're in the Jupiter area, we have our annual baseball bash coming up here at the hotel on Thursday after the game. 2 special guests scheduled to appear. How about that? J.J. Weatherholt is one of them.
How about that?
And the man of the hour. And then Joel Pozo, obviously a big Cardinal fan favorite from a year ago, is also supposed to be coming by. We'll have silent auction. We'll have a raffle. And we have a little special prize that we're going to be giving away to some people. Look at this. For courtesy of Bissinger's Candies, which we found out not only is not just a St. Louis company, they also have a store in West Palm Beach, and they're going to be giving away the Stan Musial candy bars. We have a limited supply, but hopefully we'll be able to have enough to get one to every family that shows up at our party on Thursday.
In West Palm Beach, also, if you go into the store wearing your Cardinals clothes, they will give you a free Stan the Man chocolate bar if you go in there.
$8 value.
$8 value. That is true. Yes.
$8 worth of chocolate. What could go wrong? Right? So we look forward to that. Now, obviously, again, we'd like for you to RSVP Reigns at STLSportsPage.com, just so we have an approximate head count. But I know a lot of you have already planned to come, and a lot of people staying at the hotel will be here, and we appreciate that. But about 13, 14 years now that we've done the party here with a couple of special guests. So looking forward to seeing everybody here at the hotel.
And don't forget also upcoming contests that we have, our March Madness contest. Again, if you're in the hotel or in the Jupiter area, we're going to be having a watch party here on Selection Sunday. Same thing, RSVP for that if you can. But if not, all of the brackets will be up on CBS Sports. We'll have an article out there for all of you to do it and see how far you have your Jayhawks going this year.
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see how they do in the Big 12 tournament first. And, of course, we're competing for great prizes. All the information, the links will be, if you're in the contest last year, you'll automatically get an email to sign up for this year's contest. New people, you can follow the link at stlsportspage.com, and this is STL Sports Page is the name of the group. First prize includes 2 free Drury Hotel, our principal sponsors, 2 great certificates, any hotel in the Drury Hotel chain, 2 free nights. So
And
other Cardinal tickets and other prizes.
Our
as well.
contest and fun doesn't stop there, because we're also hosting a opening day kickoff watch party, so to speak, the night before opening day, March 25th at Viviano's in Fenton from 6 to 8 p.m. We might have some special guests there. Some
Working on that.
Q&A talking about the season. We'll have some prizes and giveaways there. So same thing, if you could RSVP for that. So we have a head count at reigns@stlsportspage.com. We're excited for that party too. So.
And don't also forget about the we had something else I was going to bring up. Now I totally lost my.
Well,
train
for
thought,
all
so
of those,
I'll
you
come back.
can follow along on our newsletter,
Oh, that's
and you
true.
can find all of that on the Join Us tab on our website, stlsportspage.com.
So, I know I was going to mention. And you also can wear the swag now. You also have a lot of free, not free, but STL Sports Page merchandise, which is available in our merch store on the page. Our producer extraordinaire Sally Tippett Rains has worked hard on coming up with all kinds of different items. I was looking at it this morning, and there's a lot of wide range of candles and notebooks and carrying bags and all kinds of stuff.
You can find a lot of things there, a lot of gifts, everything.
And we're going to have a lot of them that have the spring training logos on it, but also, of course, once we kick into the season, we're going to have a lot of other items as well.
There might be a limited edition merch item for the ladies coming out soon. I will tease here coming soon too.
Mother's Day is coming up.
Mother's Day is coming up, so there could be a good item to pick up for them. So.
All right, back to our conversation here. We're not done with our concern or not concerned here. Starting pitching.
I am not concerned with the starting pitching, and for 2 reasons. And I probably couldn't have said it enough last year, but Eric Fetty and Miles Michaelis are not here. So
Did you say that last year during the show?
It makes a huge difference, right? And the guys that we have coming in have looked really good. Dustin May today had a little bit of a rough start in the first inning, but overall, he's looked really good this spring and settled down nicely. And again, as we talked about earlier, you can't be more happy with what Matthew Libator has done so far. But how about Kyle Leahy?
Done very well. His last start was 4 perfect innings. Can't do much better than that.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see how we decide to play this 5-man rotation versus 6-man rotation, because Palante has the experience in the staff that some of these other guys don't. So as they stretch out Leahy and as they stretch out Fitz, it'd be interesting to kind of see how they use them interchangeably throughout the year.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it will probably be. If I had to guess right now, I would think they're going to use all 6 starters. Now, whether that's a straight 1 through 6, 1 through 6, 1 through 6 or not, I don't think so. But I think they'll be able to mix and match and kind of pull some of those guys in the bullpen and long relief for also some different situations. Because you got to remember 2 things. Some of those guys, May being one, Richard Fitz being another, are coming off some injuries questions in the past. And you got Kyle Leahy, a guy who's thrown primarily in the bullpen for the last several years, also kind of now transitioning to starter like Libator did a year ago. So kind of controlling those innings will also be a good idea, especially early on in April. And they did that very well last year with Steven Matz.
And it doesn't hurt with McGreevy and Libator both being younger pitchers on this staff too. So the more you can protect those arms for the future, as we've seen throughout many years, the health of your starting pitching goes a long way for how your team's success is.
Yeah, and I think, based on, even if you have no concerns about this team's offense, I do think that, to me, the pitching has the edge over the offense at this point in the spring, and I think I could see that carrying over into the start of the season. So it would not surprise me at all if the Cardinals in April especially have to win games 3-2, 4-3, 3-1. I don't know that the offense is going to be enough to score 8 to 10 runs a game.
The one question you didn't ask, concerned or not concerned on the offensive
may not
side,
go through on my list yet.
Is and this one is directly on either Pop or on Ollie, but how much do they allow this team to run?
That's true.
Because that's the question to me, is you've got a couple guys in there between Wynn, JJ, and Victor that can steal you a lot of bases. So the more they can do is going to generate offense if they can't score. So that's one thing that I'm really interested to see how they do.
I think they could win games with the speed and defense in the old-fashioned way of winning baseball games. Good starting pitching, take advantage of some opportunities, and we'll see. And as we say, we've had years. We've seen spring training performances where guys didn't hit a lick, and then they come out and get catch fire immediately during the course of the regular season. Maybe that happens with this team. I don't know, but more or less, I'm banking on the starting pitching carrying this team early in the season.
And so far throughout spring, there's been no reason to see that it wouldn't. So it's been very good so far.
And the bullpen, I think, has been good. I mean, I know there's still, and I think the competition is going to be there the rest of the spring for those final spots in the bullpen. I don't see how you don't give the second left-hander spot to Packy Mountain at this point, based on the way he's pitched this spring and how great a feel-good story that is. But I think there is still open competition for the last two spots in the bullpen on the right-handed side. But I think you're back into the bullpen with Romero, and I know O'Brien has some wildness issues up in Port St. Lucie, but O'Brien, Stanek, and Swanson, I think those four guys are pretty solid at the back of the bullpen.
I was going to say, when you look at last year's games, a lot of times Ollie had his chosen three that he went through. So if you were looking at the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings in Ollie's shoes right now, who are you lining up in that area?
I think primarily you'll see O'Brien and Romero as the 9th inning guys, depending on the matchups, depending on if the team has left-handed, bats coming up in the 9th inning, depending on the score of the game, depending on usage, where you're going to alternate those guys. You're not going to see one guy closing every night. I don't think. I think it'll be back and forth. And then if there happens to be a game when they're both down, I think Stanek can do it. Although I think they're more comfortable with him being the 7th or 8th inning guy, kind of filling that Andrew Kittredge, Phil Maton role that they've had in the past. And then I think you'll see Swanson maybe to be the bridge guy. He could maybe pitch your 2 innings in that 6th and 7th inning role sometimes if he's needed. So
I am excited looking at the overall pitching right now, and I think it's an area to be, is an upgrade from last year. If you were to look at this club and say where are the areas we upgraded, overall I think the pitching is one.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the moves that Heim's made over the course of the winter, the veterans that he's traded off, and probably in many cases even some of the players that he's brought in, we haven't even talked about. Because I do think that a lot of the guys that he acquired, the guy who came in from Seattle, the pitcher Jurangelo Sanjay in the Donovan trade, a couple of pitchers that they got in the trades with Boston, those are prospects that are going to be in the farm system that were not even in the big league camp. So and then you got Liam Doyle still sitting there, the number 1 pick from last year. You got Tanner Franklin, that everybody thinks has had a really good spring on the minor league side. So I do think the pitching depth is much better than it's been in a long, long time.
And as you watch this team throughout spring, you can start to see the plan that Heim's putting in place. And I understand some of this may take longer than we think, but for example, as you watch Joshua Baez and as you start to see Chase Davis with his 2 home run game the other day, you can start to see the pieces of these young guys that are getting in place. And there was a time where we're sad that we got to where we are right now. But if you look back in the Mo era, there were areas where we talked about, Alex Reyes is the guy. Oscar Taveras is the guy. Too much we relied on one person to be that guy coming up. And right now, we're in a situation where Heim has built 5, 6, 10 prospects in some areas. So we're just needing a couple of them to get where we need to go. And it's seemingly starting to take shape.
And we didn't even mention Quinn Matthews and Bryson Motts, who were in the big league camp, recently sent back to the minor league camp so they can get stretched out and be ready for their season. They both are guys I think that will pitch in the big leagues sooner rather than later. And all you have to do is look at some of the independent analysis from people that follow the minor leagues very closely, Baseball America, MLB Pipeline, Fangraphs. They all are very high on the Cardinal farm system, a lot higher than they've been in recent years. So I think that's another positive that, maybe the big league team is not going to get as improved this year, 2026, as everybody would like, but I think you can see the trend. You can see how they're going to be building this club, and I think the future is very, very promising.
And the question no one is able to answer yet is how quick do some of these guys click and figure it out, right? Because when guys come up to the bigs, certain guys figure it out quicker and certain guys take longer to get going. Well, if the right things click in place, this may happen sooner than we think. Now, if it goes the other way, it may take longer than we think. But all signs indicate, and what we would be hoped for, is that it happens sooner.
Don't forget, Willie Mays started his major league career 1 for 22. And I think his career turned out okay.
I think it turned out okay.
So we'll see what happens. So 2 weeks to go, opening day at Busch Stadium. Don't forget, sign up for the Viviano's party on March 25th. That rains at stlsportspage.com. Also, check out our merchandise page. Also, if you're in the Jupiter area, don't forget about our party coming up at the Homewood Suites on Thursday, March the 12th, after the ball game with J.J. Weatherholt and Joel Pozo. If you're not in the Jupiter area, that will be videotaped and shown on the site here within the next couple of days. So we'll have a nice Q&A with both those guys.
You can get this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere. It really does us a big favor if you can go in, like, and subscribe. You'll get notifications every time we post this too, but our algorithms and everything helps us out a little bit. If you can both like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify, both would be helpful for all of us.
And don't forget, too, if you want information on everything that we're doing, you also can, of course, sign up for the newsletter. Usually comes out once a week. You can do that by contacting us on the website as well. Hopefully you enjoyed all of our other spring training coverage with the Jupiter Minute, which amazingly is almost exactly 1 minute. I'm not sure how I do that, but it works out. And then, of course, the daily postcard from camp, which has all the news and notes and details of the game. Some other feature stories we've been working on, too. Watch for a good story coming up early next week on Casey Chenoweth, the new assistant hitting coach. I think you'll be amazed by his backstory. So appreciate you for joining us here at the Homewood Suites, and appreciate everybody for tuning in to this edition of Reigns on the Cardinals podcast here on stlsportspage.com.